Would you like to find out how I touch up my grey roots at home? Then stay tuned and I will reveal all. Hello and welcome to Beauty by Des. I'm Des, I'm over 60 and I love to talk about makeup, skincare, clothes and other bits and bobs that make me happy. I also have a website and I'm on Insta and Facebook too. And if you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up because it lets me know that I'm on the right track. And better yet, subscribe to the channel because then YouTube will put my content in front of other older women who might enjoy it. So without further ado, let me tell you how I colour my grey roots at home. So I started dyeing my grey roots a couple of months into lockdown. I'd been to the hairdressers, I think in the February of 2020. And in April, they were really starting to get quite noticeable. And obviously I've got very dark hair. It maybe wasn't quite as dark when I started dyeing them back in April, May of 2020, but it was still dark. And so they are very noticeable. And what you end up with when you've got dark hair, as you probably know, if you've got dark hair, you end up with sort of zebra type stripes, which is not the most attractive. And I was using a root touch-up powder, which I did find useful. I think I've got various different, I think I used Colour Wow and I've used other, John Frieda was a good one, although they seem to have stopped doing John Frieda now. But anyway, there were various powders that I used, but actually it was getting far too long to colour with powder. So I spoke to a girlfriend of mine and she'd been colouring her own roots for years and I asked her about it. When she first told me, it sounded like such a McGiller. I thought, do you know what, I really can't be bothered. I thought that I would end up with aching arms from having to spend ages painting on the dye. But in fact, she sent me an email with the instructions on how to do it. And honestly, after I'd read them through, I thought, okay, let's just give it a go because hairdressers were closed. I obviously wasn't going to be able to go to a hairdresser's. And also, one of the key things that she told me was how to choose my base colour. And in fact, she said to me, your base colour is dark blonde. Now I thought, what's she on about? My hair's really dark brown. How can it be dark blonde? And actually, I'll show you what L'Oreal has on their L'Oreal Professional site. They explain how to choose your colour and how you can potentially mix it. Now, this is for professionals, that's true. And actually, other YouTubers have said if you want to find out what your base colour is, your best bet is to actually talk to your hairdresser or a hairdresser. But obviously this is a video for people who aren't going to the hairdresser or can't go to the hairdresser for various reasons. So finding your base colour is quite important. However, trial and error is not a bad thing. And as time has evolved and I've got more experience, and I've now been doing it for nearly 2 years, I've worked out what colour is best for me. So I'm actually not using dark blonde anymore. So as you're covering white hair, you want to be careful about what colour you choose and you don't want to go too dark. So I would always err on the side of caution and look for something that, let's say your hair is, I don't know, light brown. You'd want to go for quite a blondie colour because, to be honest, we're talking about quite a small amount of growth, aren't we? We're talking about dyeing our grey roots. We're not talking about giving ourselves a complete makeover here. This is about dyeing your grey roots at home. So choose a colour that's lighter than you think. That's what I would suggest. Now, there are quite a few companies who sell products that are useful for dyeing your roots. And we are talking about root dye, as I say, not the whole head. Clairol do them, Redken, there's E-Salon, which I've never tried, but the site looks very good. And I think Angie Hot and Flashy uses them. So they are in the States as well as in the UK. They might be worldwide. So have a look around. All the links to all these companies will be down below in the description box. As I say, Redken, Clairol, E-Salon, and the company that I use, and they are called Cetuem, C-E-T-U-E-M, and they are a North London based, so UK based company, and they do ship to the US. Now, I have found their colours to be fantastic because in the past, not when I was really colouring my grey hair, but when I used to colour my hair different colours, and believe me, I have been every colour under the sun apart from blonde. I've been every shade of red that you could imagine, 50 shades of red and pink, puce. Those of you who are based in the UK I used to go, back in the 80s, I used to go to Camden Market and buy Crazy Colour. Oh my lord, they had the most amazing colours. They were, as I say, puce and cyclamen and all sorts of fantastic hues of pink and red. And because I used to have perms as well, didn't we all in the 80s? The colour, my hair was so porous that the colour would really take very well. Anyway, moving on. So using those regular colours that off the shelf from the chemist or the drugstore colours, I used to find quite harsh, and my hair would feel quite papery. And also for a while, until it started to fade a bit, it didn't look all that natural. But I think that Cetuem has really got it sussed. It does have ammonia in it, but it's pretty low down on the ingredients list. And somehow, I mean, I think I did this, what, about a week ago, 10 days, and I think it looks really glossy and lovely. Now, let's get to the nub of the matter. How do you do it? So let me show you my tools. So I have a bottle of cream peroxide, and this is 6% 20 vol. So that's the one you want to get if you're having to get your own peroxide. Now I've got my colours here, so actually at the moment I'm not using the dark blonde. This is the one I started with, and I just used dark blonde to cover my entire head. So, well, we'll come to the application in a minute, but I used dark blonde and it worked very well. I think it was a colour that I might go back to in the summer, so it was a little bit lighter than what I've got, but not massively. In fact, if you look back at my old videos, you'll see what colour my hair was then. In fact, let me try it. I'll try and find one. I'll link it up in the corner for you, or I'll link a picture up so you can see. It was a little bit lighter, but not massively. At the moment, I'm using 55, which I think works very well. 55.0. Again, all the details will be down below for you. It's called Intensive Light Brown, but it's not exactly light brown. This is very dark, but I like it. It's a nice rich brown, but it's not too reddy. That's the other thing. My hair was never reddish brown. It was quite ashy, because I'm cool toned. I actually did try a chestnut, because the friend of mine who told me about this company, she sometimes uses a chestnut colour, which is one of the colours from Cetuem, in her mix. But I found it was too red for me. It just didn't work and didn't suit my skin tone. So I'm very happy with the 55.0 at the moment. So you've got your tubes of colour. The next thing you want is your plastic bowl and a spoon. Now I happen to have the spoon anyway from my kitchen, but I did buy the plastic bowl, and I also bought a couple of combs. These came in a set actually, and again I'll link that down below for you, from Amazon. Very reasonably priced. I think the whole set was about 10 quid or something, £10. And the other thing you do need is some rubber gloves or some plastic gloves, because although it doesn't really stain this hair colour, I must say that's another wonderful thing about it. And I think a lot of dyes these days, they're so different from back in the day when we were younger. And two other things to mention: a grotty old towel that you can cover up your sink with just so it doesn't get too messy, and a black t-shirt, which you'll see in the b-roll I'm wearing, so it doesn't matter if it gets grubby, it's just an old t-shirt. So you've got all your tools, and what you're going to do now is you are going to get your peroxide, and you want exactly the same amount of peroxide as you do colour. So it's basically, what I do is I get 2 tablespoons of the peroxide, put it in my bowl, and then 2 tablespoons of my colour. And if I'm mixing colours, so let's say I'm having the 55 plus the dark blonde, so say I'm going intensive light brown mixed with the dark blonde, half and half maybe, or 3/4 one and 1/4 the other. So 2 tablespoons of your cream, 2 tablespoons of your peroxide, and pop them in the bowl and give them a really good stir until they've all mixed in well together, because as I say, the cream is quite thick, so you need to give it a really good stir around. So you do that, and then you start to apply the colour. Now, you do it on dry hair, by the way. You do not wet your hair at all, okay? So do not wet it. And as you'll see, I missed off the very beginning, by the way. I don't know what happened, my phone camera wasn't on. But you make a start, so you literally part your hair, as you can see, and you apply the colour. And what I do is I do it on both sides of my parting, and then I get the next bit of hair, and then I do that on both sides of my parting, and so on and so on. So I'm doing all the front. Then I do the back, and again, you can see I lean forward, and the back, it has to be said, is a bit more of guesswork, because you've got to kind of feel, unless you've got an amazing mirror that you can see the back of your head from. Sorry, that's terrible grammar, but you know what I mean. I just tend to feel it, so I'll part my hair, I lean forward, part my hair, then put the brush either side of the parting and so on until I've done all of that. So that probably takes around about 10 minutes, I'd say. Then what you do is I pin mine up and I leave it for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I then go back to my bowl, because I've usually got some product left in there, and I put it through the rest of my hair. So I cover all the rest of my hair so that the colour looks seamless, as it were, because I'm still dyeing bits of the old hair, if you know what I mean, just to kind of mix it together. And I leave that on for another 15 minutes. So the whole thing is 45 minutes. So when I've done 45 minutes, I put my timer on my phone. So I've done my 30 minutes plus my 15 minutes. Then I rinse it all off. So I get in the shower, have a really good rinse. It doesn't take long to get all the colour out actually. And then I wash, condition my hair just as I normally would. And then I dry it. And that is basically it. Oh yes, and also I forgot to mention, I do just check that I haven't got any sort of brown bits on my ears or around my neck or anything. But a microfiber cloth will suffice for that. And that is basically it. I dry it. Now, I have a confession to make. Before I made the video this evening, I checked the back of my head to make sure that I dyed my back of my head properly. And you know what? I've missed a bit. So I'm just going to turn around and see if you can see where I've missed a bit, which is here. Now I've realised what I should have done is, instead of just doing the back here, I should have actually done this, because I was assuming that I was getting that from the front, and I obviously wasn't. So now I've learnt my lesson. And next time I do it, I will make sure that I do this bit before I then turn my head forward and do the very back. But it's not the end of the world. I mean, listen, people know, they can see I'm not a young person. I'm not going to have perfect hair, am I? I'm going to have grey hair, because that's what happens as you get older. So I don't think it's the end of the world. However, as I say, if you want to make sure, and particularly if you've got shorter hair, you might want to make sure that you do the crown. So really the best thing to do is just to part it here without bending your head forward like me, and then just make sure, you can feel your way and do it all the way down the back, and then go forward and then do the back, the nape as it were of your neck. What I'll do is I'll put all the instructions on how I do it in the description box below so that you can follow along. But it really is very, very simple. Now, I'm not trying to do hairdressers out of a job here. Hairdressers do a fantastic job and I loved going to them. But since lockdown, as I say, I haven't been back actually for 2 years to the hairdressers. And to be honest, I did used to find it quite boring. I mean, I think as you get older, I don't know about you, but I didn't really enjoy sitting looking at myself in the mirror for 2 hours while my hair was being fiddled about with by some young person. I found it a little bit disconcerting. That's probably me and my insecurities. And also 2 hours, or sometimes 2.5. It was a long time to take out of your day to get your roots done every 4 to 6 weeks. And of course it costs a lot of money. Whereas buying all this equipment is peanuts compared to going to the hairdressers. So although, as I say, I do think hairdressers are incredibly valuable and I really appreciate them, I'm just not ready to go back to a salon at the moment, and that will probably change. I'm sure it will. If you want to touch your grey roots up, this is a way that I have found that is simple, easy, effective and inexpensive. So there you have it. That is how I dye my grey roots at home. If you found this video helpful, interesting or even amusing, please consider subscribing to the channel and clicking on the bell icon so that you get notified each time I upload a video. And I hope you'll join me on my next video when I'm going to be testing out 5 high-end foundations. And I'll see you then. Bye!